Welcome all WCL members. Today I'd like to go over a game that was sent to me by the handle Eduardo Abramson playing against a robot Wimpybot. And this game was played back in May, and here is what happened. I'd like to tell in advance that it's a game, at least on the computer side, played by a beginner. So I think this lesson will be especially interesting for the new players, the inexperienced players, of what to do and what not to do. Here is how the game started. E4, C5, Sicilian defense, and White played D4. This is the beginning of the famous Mora Gambit. The Mora Gambit, as most gambits, involves a pawn sacrifice, and therefore leads usually to a sharp, active play. So what White is trying to do is open files quickly and get a fast development of the pieces by sacrificing a pawn. Let's see what I mean. Black captured a pawn, and here one of the normal moves would be to recapture the pawn, of course, or just try to play knight to f3, developing the knight, and then try to capture that pawn with the knight. However, what the Mora Gambit is about is to sacrifice a pawn, not bothering recapturing, in order to open another file and to get a quick development. Here Black captured White's pawn on c3, and White recaptured. At the professional level, the Mora Gambit is not very popular because it's of course very risky. Whenever one side gives up a pawn, that's a significant disadvantage. And it's questionable whether objectively White has enough compensation for this pawn. However, if Black is not so prepared or ready for this gambit, of course it can cause a lot of danger. Black continued with knight c6, developing, and so did White with the bishop coming to c4. So far, everything went according to the book, according to what's expected, both sides developing. And at this point, Black should have continued developing, trying to get one or the other bishop out by playing, for example, e6 as one of the good choices. Instead, Black in the actual game, the robot, the computer, responded by breaking one of the opening principles, getting the queen out prematurely to b6 in this case. Usually, we much rather develop our bishops and knights first, put our king to safety by castling, and only after that, getting our queen out to attack. It's true that the immediate attack on the queen by playing knight to d5 doesn't lead to anything of success, because Black could simply retreat, and then in the following moves, the Black pawn could chase the White knight back from the middle of the board from d5 by playing e6, and the wasted time by the Black queen would be matched by the White knight needing to retreat from d5. If now White would play bishop to f4, threatening with a fork with the knight on c7, then of course Black would not play e6 right away, attacking the knight, but first would respond by playing d6, closing off the bishop's power towards the c7 square, and only after White's next move would they play e6, chasing the White knight back from d5. And now let's go back to the game and see what happened in this position. White continued by developing the knight to f3 which is definitely a good thing to do. And so did black by playing knight f6. Now this is the first interesting moment in the game where white had a more ambitious way to play than they did. White in the game has simply castled, but the interesting moment was to play e5 right away. Typically, when white would make such a move to attack a knight on f6, and that knight is unable to go to central squares to d5 or e4, it's usually a good thing. However, in this position, it's important to also be ready. What happens if the black knight goes rather to g4, threatening with an immediate checkmate by queen f2, and at the same time attack the pawn on e5 a second time? Now white has a cute tactical possibility to proceed with bishop takes pawn, thanks to the fact that the black knight on g4 is on an unprotected square. And then after king captures bishop, knight checks on g5, creating a discovery on the knight on g4. After the king moves out of the check, the white queen captures the knight, and after knight captures pawn, queen e4, white actually has a very strong position because the black king obviously cannot castle anymore. Black is also clearly behind in development, so white would have a very decent compensation for the pawn. Let's go back again to the game position. So the bottom line is e4, e5 at this moment to push the pawn up was a more ambitious way to continue than what white did to castle. And here the computer started to play kind of strange in a clearly recognizable computer way, because a human would hardly ever make such moves, as we'll see in several of the following moves. A more human, normal, and better move here would be for black to respond by playing e6 and simply opening the diagonal of the bishop on f8 and also taking away the d5 square from the white knight. Here the computer played knight b8. I don't know if this is a computer bug or why many of the computers, at least at the lower levels, make such moves, kind of going back and forth with pieces instead of bringing new pieces to development. I guess one thing may be that they put a much higher priority to one piece over another or something like that. Well, in this position, white already clearly should have played e5. As I said, when a knight in such situations is unable to go to the highlighted green d5 or e4 central squares and needs to go to some place like g8, it's almost always the right thing to do. And then white could develop the bishop by gaining a tempo, also attacking the black queen, as to capture the pawn on b2 would be extremely risky and probably losing very quickly, because now after knight d5, white is threatening to trap the rook in the corner with a fork, which black can only prevent by playing king d8, an ugly move, especially while having all of the black pieces back on the back rank. However, you can see now how the black queen is surrounded by all enemy pieces. And the black queen has only one square of retreat, going to a3. And white can get rid of that by moving the a pawn up by 1 or 2 squares. And now we can see that the black queen has no moves where it wouldn't be captured. So all white would need to do is to attack the queen either by the bishop on d4 or with the rook on a2, and the black queen would become history. Let's go back and see how white continued. Did not play e5 in the game, but played a little bit unambitiously, playing queen e2. It's a normal, typical move, but when your opponent plays breaking the rules, you may also change your plans a bit and play more ambitiously. And now the computer came back with the knight. Of course, as I said, humans hardly ever do that, but nevertheless, I think it's an important lesson to see how to take best advantage of your opponent's mistakes or inaccuracies. Again, in this position, for white, the best option was to play e5. Instead, white continued by playing bishop to e3, and black retreated the queen to d8. And here, yet again, the correct move was playing e5, and if the black knight would go to g4, then bishop captures on f7, king captures, and similarly to a previous line that we already saw, white uses this discovery to win the knight back, and after king g8, queen captures on g4, knight captures on e5, queen e4, knight moves away, and after rook a to d1, white has a very clear lead in development and a very strong compensation for a pawn, a very strong attack. In the actual game instead, in this position, white continued by playing rook f to d1. Again, just like on move 8 when white played queen e2, or on move 9, bishop e3, they are okay moves, but simply not the most ambitious, not the best way. And here again, a human most likely would not make a move that black did. The best move for black would be to play e6 to finally try to get that bishop out from f8 and castle with the king. Not to say that white's position at this point is not clearly superior in any case. However, it would be still far from an immediate win. The computer again made a typical silica move by retreating the knight. And yet again, white would have a very ambitious way to take advantage of black wasting time after time. The best response would be to sacrifice the bishop and to then play knight g5, followed by knight e6. White would have a very strong attack here, as even though materially speaking strictly, black would have a decent position, but the fact that black is so undeveloped would give white a winning attack. And again, let's go back to the game. White played knight g5, which is not a bad move, I have to say. It's also an ambitious move, and it also gives white quite a significant advantage. The response was the move that black should have played many moves ago by playing e6. And here again, white had a more ambitious, better way to continue by immediately destroy the defense, the chain of pawns in front of black's king. And after pawn takes, knight takes, queen a5, and now white can immediately continue by rook d5, chasing the black queen away from the crucial c7 square, where the white knight wants to appear to give a fork. We're back again to the game position, where white continued with knight to b5. Black responded by playing knight to f6. And here white had again better moves than what he chose. Bishop to f4 is, for example, one of them, simply creating a serious threat of moving the knight to c7 that black has a real hard time to defend against. Another tempting alternative would be to capture the pawn on e6. The d pawn is pinned, and if the f pawn captures, then capture with the knight a second time, and then appear with one of the knights on c7, giving a fork. The game continued with e5, which black captured. And here white made a serious mistake. It's kind of amazing in chess that even after black making so many weak moves, not developing, or in fact developing backwards, wasting plenty of time with the knights, after not even a very obvious mistake, which white just made in the following move, all of a sudden black fully gets back into the game. White in this position should have continued aggressively with an immediate combination by playing bishop to e6, and after pawn takes, take with the knight a second time. And if black accepts that knight as well, rook takes queen, king takes rook, rook d1 check. And now, for example, if the bishop blocks, white's attack is really devastating after bishop g5, creating a discovery, attack on the knight on e5, and if the knight moves away, bishop takes knight check, pawn takes, queen takes e6, which is possible because of the pin along the d file, and black's position is pretty hopeless. Let's go back and see what happened, what mistake did white make. White played in the game knight d6 check. This is a mistake because it gives black finally the opportunity to put his king into safety. Of course, black happily trades the bishop for a knight in this case. Black is up 2 pawns already. So if black can consolidate the position, black's position will be much better. Rook recaptured, and here the computer again made a couple of mistakes. Here black should either castle or even better, first chase the white knight back from g5 and have quite a reasonable position. Instead, in this position, black chose knight e g4. As we can see, black has made far too many knight moves already. If I count well, black made already like 7 knight moves in just 15 moves. That's obviously clearly breaking the opening principles by not to move the same piece twice early on. White continued by playing rook a to d1, doubling up the rooks, which is certainly a logical move, getting the second rook into the game as well. And here, black's move is again a typical computer move, a bad one at it, moving the knight to h6. Here white should have again taken advantage of the opportunity and capture on e6 before black ever gets to castle. And if pawn takes, knight e6, and again white's attack is devastating. Instead, white chose to play bishop c5, which is again a bit slow motion because now black finally got the opportunity to castle. Although the computer missed the opportunity and played a6, which I would say is the losing move, now finally white made a nice combination and used the opportunity. Continued, knight takes e6, about time. Pawn captured back and the bishop captured back. Now black is unable to castle and there is a clear discover check threat with the bishop. If black would try to make a pin by playing queen e7, the simplest win for white is rook captures d7, creating a discovery attack also on the queen. And after queen c5, the discovered check by retreating the bishop, decides the game real quick. Now the black king is in check, and when it moves out, the white rook checks on d8, and the checkmate comes on the following move. In this position, black responded with queen c7, and here white has a quite impressive, beautiful way to win the game. That's not to say that white's choice was bad, but just a bit slower. The beautiful solution was here, bishop f5, discovered check, and then, regardless in which direction the black king goes to, whether it's d8 or f7, the impressive move is queen e7, a brilliant queen sacrifice. And after king captures, double check with the rook on d7, king e8, only move, rook e1, and the black king has nowhere to go. Black can delay the checkmate only by blocking the check on the e-file with the knight and the queen, and then the checkmate arrives. A beautiful checkmate opportunity that was missed. Although the choice that white chose, bishop to d7, of course, was also good enough to win the game, which ended the following way. Discovered check with the bishop on e8. Black had no choice but to block. Now white has a pleasant choice to take the bishop with either the bishop or with the rook, as he did. Knight captured, rook captured, queen captured, bishop captured, and king captured. So now, materially speaking, black is doing okay. The problem is still that the black king is in serious trouble. As we'll see, king e7. The black king cannot find safety. Going to c6, of course, going to c8 would not help either, because the white bishop would simply go to b6, threatening with an unavoidable checkmate on c7. So the game continued by the black king going to c6, and the chase continued with the queen, king b5, b3. Now, there's nothing black can do against the checkmate on b6, and the game ended with king a5 and queen b6 checkmate. Well, an interesting and instructive game. Of course, the computer played not at its best, but nevertheless, I think it's quite important to realize how to take advantage when that's what the opponent, whether a human or computer, does. Thank you for listening, and please keep sending your games that I can choose from to share with you. Bye-bye.